Hey, beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button below. Please follow me on Instagram and on Facebook. I'm at living.lacy. So I have one of my close friends here, Ashley. And she is here to share her birth story with her newest little baby boy. So stay tuned. Okay, Ashley, so I'm gonna let you have the floor. Go ahead, girl.
Okay. So my water broke on a Tuesday. I was 37 weeks in a day. We had just made it home and I had the yoga ball that my husband was going to blow up once he had made it home. I was in the bedroom and he called and he was like, I got off a little early, so I'm gonna go to church for practice. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm leaning over the bed and I was just texting. I think I was texting.
Were.
And then next thing you know it went just a gush. And I was like, oh crap, I done pissed myself. I thought I peed myself and I was trying to stop it and I couldn't stop it. And I was like, uh-oh, I know what that is this time.
So this is a weird question. So when you tried to stop it, was it like you were like clenching and so you
were stop it? I was trying to clench and stop and run to the bathroom. But by the time I made it, I just like my pants was done and over with. Right when my water broke, I called my husband. He would not answer the phone. I called him like 3 or 4 times and he would not answer the phone. And when he finally did, I was like, he's like, why are you calling me? You know, I'm at practice. I was like, it's time. He was like, what? Gotta go. Next thing you heard, no, all I heard was, I heard the tires like spinning in the parking lot. And then I text you and said, it's time. And then you called and you was like, oh my gosh, it's time. She was like, wait, why you not at the hospital? What are you doing? I was like, just laughing and giggling. I was like, I don't know. I'm just waiting on her to get it was just so casual. I wasn't in any pain at all. Like when my water broke, I wasn't in any pain. I wasn't even dilated. By the time I got to the hospital, they said I was like 1, maybe. And that
so
was
you weren't having any contractions?
No contractions, no nothing. I didn't have anything. So I wasn't in pain. I was just relaxing. Herbert running around the house, trying to grab bags and just freaking out. I was like, just calm down. And no, he was not.
Did you have a bag packed?
I already had my bags packed. Girl had my bags packed at 35 weeks.
Yeah, so y'all got to the hospital and like what?
We got to the hospital. They pretty much act like you're just dumb and be like, are you sure your water broke? And I'm like, well, I'm still pissing on myself. So I think my water broke. And they got me checked in. We got into the room and even though you know your water broke, they still make you take that vaginal test. And that was the most painful thing ever. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was so painful just to I don't know. Yes. Yeah. And it was painful. Oh my God. I cried. That was like the most simplest thing that they did, but I cried because that hurt. And we got in there and they checked me. First off, the IV never took. They had to stick me like 4 or 5 different times because they couldn't get the IV in. I was pissed. I was like,
oh my goodness.
One more time. She finna get stuck with this thing. That was hurting. So by the time they got all of that done and they finally did an exam and checked me to see how much I was dilated, I wasn't even 2 centimeters. So because I was trying to do a VBAC, my first pregnancy, I had an emergency C-section. This pregnancy, for this birth, I wanted a water birth, but because I had a C-section, they had to constantly monitor him and I constantly had to be on the baby monitor to check his heart rate and everything. So I couldn't have a water birth, but they were still going to allow me to do a VBAC. I just couldn't have the water birth that I always wanted. So they did, instead of just automatically inducing me or giving me any medication we did the most natural way to help me to contract and dilate. So we did the balloon. And what the balloon is, real long balloon, and they insert it in you, and they'll fill it with a solution. So it's like a huge ball.
Oh, okay.
So the hopes of it is to help your body start contracting on its own. So I had started contracting. It was actually really manageable. I was able to breathe through it and everything, and it got me to about 5 centimeters.
So was the balloon painful, or it was like you didn't really feel it?
I couldn't feel the balloon actually in there, but it was the contractions. The contractions felt like a menstrual period, just a little stronger of a menstrual period, but it wasn't where I couldn't handle it. I was able to breathe through it. And the only way I was able to do that is because I practiced my breathing throughout my entire pregnancy. Because I started having contractions, I was about 34 weeks when I started having, the Braxton Hicks contractions.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really able to breathe through everything. So it really wasn't painful for me. My experience wasn't painful. Yeah.
So now you're at 5 centimeters, and now what?
This is the next morning, because by the time we got to the hospital, it was about 7 o'clock.
And y'all, let me tell you, I remember this like it was yesterday. I was blowing up her husband's phone, like, where are they now? How many centimeters? Like, and this was literally an all day thing. Like,
you was blowing him up. Like, I didn't even know.
Yes, I was texting Herbert, like, how far? And then it was one point because I hadn't heard from Herbert, I texted Ashley's mama.
Did you, girl?
I texted Ashley's mama, and I was like,
oh
Mama what's going on with Ashley? How's this baby?
Oh
the
my
baby
gosh.
okay?
God, I don't even remember what my phone was. That is funny.
So that's why I bring this up, because Ashley's saying now they're in the next day, because it felt like that next day was forever. I was like, what is going on?
Okay, so they gave me the medication that night to help me go to sleep, because they was like, do you want pain medication or do you want to go to sleep for a while, because it's going to be a while? And I was like, yeah, give me the medication just to go to sleep.
So you did, that was the IV pain meds?
No, they put me to sleep. They gave me meds like a sleeping pill, like a sleeping pill.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Man.
So they let me go to sleep. I was like, cool. Right. So I actually slept the rest of the night. I didn't get up probably, I guess, maybe 5 or 6 the next morning.
Do you know it was like midnight or something when they gave it to you?
Probably, because the intake itself took forever, because my mom was there, the kids were there. I want to say they left about 10:30.
Okay.
Came back around 7, 8 o'clock-ish the next morning.
Okay.
The only reason I didn't go through with a natural birth is because they wanted to give me Pitocin. And I refused to have Pitocin and not have an epidural, because I believe Pitocin makes the contractions a million times worse than if you contract yourself.
Did they say why they were still trying to get you to get Pitocin if your contractions had started?
Because the balloon falls out after a certain point in time.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't stay in the entire time.
Oh.
So it's only a temporary to help jumpstart your body to start having contractions. And the contractions actually started to slow down a little bit. And they wanted it to continue, because you can only be in labor with your water broken like that for only a certain period of time. So that's why they were like, okay, well, we want to put you on some Pitocin. And I was like, not without an epidural. That's why I was like, at that point, I was like, okay, I'm not going to have the natural birth that I want. I'm okay with that. So they gave me an epidural.
So this is when you're at the 5 centimeters?
5 centimeters, yeah.
Okay.
So I was at 5 centimeters.
Like this between like 7 a.m., about 7 a.m.?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So they came in, gave me the epidural. This is Wednesday morning now. And that's when everything went downhill from there. I was still contracting, but every time I had a contraction, his heart rate would go down. And I just wasn't making any progress. And his heart rate just kept going down. And it got to the point where me, my mom, and my husband, we all looked at each other and was like, it's time for a C-section. We're not going to sit here and wait and risk his life. And as soon as I told Herbert, go get the doctor, they had already came in and they was like, I'm sorry, hon, we got to do a C-section. I was like, that's perfectly fine. We were about to tell you to come on and let's get it done.
Was it like a time frame that they waited to see how he would react to it? Or it was just once you got the epidural, within minutes, his heart rate went down. And then within minutes from that, they were like, okay, C-section.
No, we waited for like, I want to say maybe 2 or 3 hours.
Okay.
Just to see how my body will take, because they never did give me the Pitocin. And I was, started contracting from the balloon. So that jumps up my body, but it wasn't really making any change in my cervix. My contractions weren't as consistent. So within that 2nd to 3rd hour into it, they were like, yeah, no, we need to go ahead and take the baby through C-section.
Okay. And I remember this because you were like, we're just going to go ahead and get a C-section.
Yeah.
And I remember because I asked you, is this what you want?
Yeah. I was like, you know what? As long as my baby is healthy, I'm not finna sit here in this hospital bed trying to have a VBAC and my baby's life is at risk. I wasn't, because it's my second time.
Yeah. And this is like a perfect example. Like, things were going the way you wanted to. Mm-hmm. And then when your baby's health is at risk or your health is at risk, you were like, okay, let's switch it up. What do we got to do to get my baby here safely and for me to be safe? So kudos to you. Good job.
Yeah. You learn very quickly how to be an advocate for your health, especially as a woman of color and you're giving birth, because my first birth, it wasn't like that. I could have lost my baby. It wasn't a decision that I was making. It was a decision based on a nurse and what she was making. So if I would have not been an advocate for myself, my daughter probably wouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. So I learned real quick, you have to be an advocate for yourself.
Yep, I agree. So now what? So now they're prepping you for a C-section?
I promise you, it took maybe 10 minutes. They had already got Herbert suited up to go into the OR. She was already ready. And she was like, let's go. I was like, okay. And like literally within 10, 15 minutes of her coming in and saying, we're going to do a C-section, they got all the, monitors together and put it on the bed and rolls me on back into the OR. Like it happened that quick. It wasn't no time wasted.
So that was another question of mine. They didn't do it all in the same room. You had to leave the room to have the actual procedure.
Yes, because I was just in the birthing suite. So they had to just wheel me right down the hall. It was like literally right down the hall to the OR room.
So did they only let one person go in with you? Like your mom couldn't go? It was just Herbert?
No. Yeah, it was just Herbert, because only one person can be in the OR room. But I was so thankful that my mom could still be there after the birth. Mm-hmm. And when they wheeled us back into the suite, because they take you back into the birthing suite until they get a room ready for you upstairs.
Okay, so now they have rolled you into the OR so that they can get little BJ out. And so then what? Do you remember, like, you didn't feel any of that, right? So
No.
How was Herbert? Like, I need details. Was he panicking? Did he get on your nerves? Through all of this, did he get on your nerves?
He held it together pretty good. I could tell he was nervous because he hates surgery. He does not like it. The fact that somebody had to cut me open, he was like terrified. But he was doing pretty good though. He was doing really good. When we got in there, they hooked me back up to the machine that delivers the epidural, or however they do it. It's separate from the room. So they increased it just a little bit, just to make sure that I wasn't going to feel anything. Mm-hmm. And they had already started the surgery. I didn't know anything. And I absolutely love the nurses. She kept me calm because I started, kind of freaking out because I don't like the feeling that I can't feel my body. And it started to tingle a little bit. I didn't start shaking, but I don't know how to explain the feeling. Like, they're doing something, but you can't necessarily feel the tugging, and that what was like it feels uncomfortable. It makes you cringe. Just like,
Yeah.
I can't stand it. But when they got him out, oh my goodness, it was like that 4.5 year journey of trying to get our little baby. That was just like, oh my gosh, we both started bawling. We was crying just so hard. I was like, oh God. And I was just crying. I was like bawling. And I looked over at him and you couldn't see his face because, you know, he had the mask on and everything, but you could see it on the side. Like, you know how hard you do that deep, hard cry? His veins popping out. He was like,
oh,
just crying. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. When I say that was just the most precious thing ever, I was afraid I was going to fall asleep and I was going to miss him being born because the epidural, it will put me to sleep big time. It makes me really sleepy, but it was just amazing. Oh my goodness.
So after they get the baby out, like they do everything the same. Of course, they clean the baby up and you still do the chest to chest and everything.
Yes. Well, no, not the chest to chest immediately. They take the baby, they evaluate him, they wrap him up, clean him up, wrap him up, and they gave him to me first, and then Herbert took him. And he was able to hold him.
Do they still let the husband cut the cord?
That was the only thing, you know, because our birth plan had changed, that wasn't in our minds. Mm-hmm. And I regret not saying anything, but at that moment in time, so much is going on and you're just wanting the baby to be born and be done. And you want your baby here. So we didn't even think about asking, and I hate that we didn't, but at the end of the day, he's here healthy, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
So he didn't get to cut the cord like we wanted to. I don't think he would have did it anyway. So that's scary.
But that's why I'm wondering like how they would even do that, because I feel like your opening is still you be exposed probably.
So what they do is they will cut the cord initially, but it's still long.
Oh.
So what they will do is they'll clip it to, I guess they clip it about 1 inch or 2 above the baby's navel, and then they clip it on the end, and they'll just give him a little space just to clip it a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's not actually legit clipping it when they just pull the baby out and you got guts hanging out.
Right, that makes sense.
Oh no, they have it where you just cut it a little shorter and just be like, okay, we're here, Daddy. You can cut.
Well, thank you for sharing your story. Like I learned a lot. I'm so glad that I heard it. And you know, next for this baby, I'm gonna be asking for them sleeping pills. I don't know why they didn't give me those sleeping pills. Okay, everyone. For those of you who do not know, my friend Ashley has started
I started an infertility journal. So for us, it took us 4.5 years to get our wonderful little BJ. We've done all kinds of fertility medications, fertility treatments. And so that during that time, it could be a very dark place that a woman can be in. So what I decided to do was create a journal, something that I wish I had during my journey. And so I created this lovely 21-week devotional journal, infertility devotional journal. And I was so excited that I finally have finished this. It took about 6 months to finish, but I finally got it done. And I do have a shop on Shopify that I will be releasing in a few short weeks. So you are open to order this journal, even if you know somebody that is going through the journey and you would love to give them a gift. I will have gift cards available on the shop as well. So thank you.
Tell us your Instagram handles, your Facebook handles for those of you who want to search and follow you and learn more about your infertility and to help them on their journey.
So my Instagram handle is at Fruitful You with Ashley. And you can also connect with me on Facebook at the same handle, Fruitful You with Ashley.
So I'm going to go ahead and put the link below for Ashley's shop. And thank you everyone for tuning into my birth story series. Thank you to my friend Ashley for sharing her story. And tune in next week for another birth story. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button below. Thanks. See you next time.